Hello guys and welcome to the More Than Muscle podcast. How's everyone feeling? Andy, Nat and our very special guest. We've got Jonny Becker in, chef extraordinaire for PTs, making us look good and making our clients look good. I think is the more important thing. How you guys doing? You all alright?
Good.
Yes.
Can't complain. Good.
The enthusiasm is, I'm just going to let that wash over me for a second.
Welcome, Jonny, to the podcast.
There we go.
Thanks for having me on.
You are more than welcome. Just so we can sort of like get people to know you a tiny bit better, and they can immediately judge you on your food choices. A couple quick icebreakers of what's your dream meal if you were going to sit down and just, you know, not death row. It sounds a bit morbid if you ask that question. But what's your dream meal? There you go.
Generally something that I can't cook myself, or it's too much of a faff to cook myself. So something like confit duck or something like that.
Oh. He's definitely from
Often like potatoes, creme brulee, because creme brulee is a bastard to cook yourself, right? It's so many elements that can split and things like that. So my go-to is always something I can't cook myself, which is why it's hard to then eat out in restaurants.
Yeah, so it's like a rare treat for yourself. Yeah, no, I get you.
Yeah.
Does it make you frustrated? So if you go into a restaurant and you see someone charging like 15 quid for a pasta dish, and you're like, I know I could make this better at home for about 2 quid.
Yeah, seriously, yeah. Literally, I judge menus based off of like whether I could do it myself or not. It's really challenging sometimes. So just got my wife and I just got back from Marbella, and it's exactly that. I'm going through the menu thinking, well, I'm not having that because I can make that myself. So I'm not having that, and that's too expensive. But yeah, so the menu that's normally 50 long goes down to about less than 10 items. So yeah.
Wow.
I usually, I judge the menu based on if I can see the plate. So if I can still see the plate, I'm upset.
We're not happy.
I judge the menu if I can see pictures. If I can see pictures on the menu, I'm not eating that.
It's a no-go.
You know, apparently that there's a higher conversion rate with less pictures on menu.
That's interesting.
Apparently.
What? So people, if there's pictures on the menu, less people will go there?
Yeah, well, they're less likely to order the item that's on that menu.
I guess
there's a higher conversion rate for just words.
Yeah.
I
get that.
I suppose you want some level of surprise.
I guess you imagine the food, and it's like you build up this big crescendo of what it's going to be. Then it turns up. And you're like,
I just think it. Yeah, I don't like the pictures on the menu. It never looks quite right.
Not for me. It's always a bit shiny, I think. But
yes.
I mean, there's some stuff about like food photography they do for fast food joints, and they paint the food, and it's usually raw as well, because obviously when you cook food, it shrinks and it looks less appealing and kind of like so that's why like if you look on a McDonald's menu, it's all fat and looks all juicy, but it's usually raw and painted with stuff which is proper weird.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like even adverts like for cereal and things, they'll actually. I think they put glue on the spoon, so the glue is dripping down, not milk, because milk doesn't drip like it does on an advert. Honestly, it's crazy. The world.
Yes.
We could open up a different topic to where we were going today.
it's like what we do. We paint abs on our clients.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. It's like that scene. Is it Bad Neighbours? He just gets like a Sharpie and just draws them on.
That'll do.
Job done.
Transformation.
Jonny, do you want to tell everyone a little bit more about what it is that you do? I'm aware that you're helping personal trainers get better results, but do you want to go into a little bit more details just so people know more about you?
Yeah. Long story short, I used to own a meal prep business. Whatever you want to call what happened a couple of years ago, that kind of shut a lot of things down for a lot of people, myself included. Every other establishment became a takeaway place, so they would support local and all that kind of stuff. So closed that, went into like online training to start with, because I was doing that anyway as the side business to the meal prep, kind of wanted to be the best meal prep business in the country, by not just providing meals but providing training. Didn't really like it that much, and then found myself honestly really randomly agreeing to do a webinar for somebody on meal prep, and then accidentally fell into this, no beating around the bush, and really love it, like doing everything that, like, it's all about fulfillment in this world, right? How you get that out of your day. And for me, if I can help people through other coaches, get more confident at cooking, get better at cooking, try new things, then that helps me out and gets me through my day as well. So in a nutshell, I go into coaches' communities and take on all things food, cooking and nutrition, so that they don't have to. You've probably heard it 1,000 times before. Have you got any lunch ideas, meal ideas, all that kind of stuff? I take all on that for the coaches so they can focus on sales, other areas of the business and that kind of stuff. So yeah.
You talk about fulfillment, and I mean it sounds incredible, but I'm sure it's not without its stresses. And I was sort of curious about when it comes to like people having specific dietary requirements and needs and stuff. Does that stress you out sometimes? You know, if people are allergic to stuff, have particular habits, whether it be religious or personal choices, being like vegetarian, vegan, whatever.
It's actually a really good challenge in its own right, to try and figure out and come up with recipes that they would then enjoy and they like, because taste is such a specific thing, right? We could go around what we all like as our favorite meal or our death row meal. We touched on that a minute ago. And we'll all have different opinions on it. So I think it's a really nice thing to be able to pass over that somebody enjoys something that I've created specifically for myself. Is there one of those that's more challenging than the other? Is there like is it like people that are celiac, maybe just one that you find a little bit more of a challenge? Celiac, no, because my mum is. So all the meals I ever produced for the meal prep business were gluten free, pretty much. Celiac friendly. It's more vegan stuff, really, because I'm not a vegan. So I have to then really try and work even harder for the like workaround of that, if that makes sense. Because I just don't eat. If I want extra protein, I just eat more chicken. So,
try working with one.
These two, especially on this podcast, love the ridicule, and that's fine.
Johnny said it. Vegans are different. Vegans are difficult.
That's fine. I'm fully aware it's not for everyone. It is some hoops to jump through, and it takes you a few months to get good at it. Like, and that being like an exclusive effort of all of your meals. And yeah, I remember early days it was some cool nuggets, tofu and rice and vegetables, and that was it. That was a pain.
I think the most frustrating thing for me in that is, depending on where you fall on the vegan spectrum, right, and what you're doing it for, and all that kind of stuff. My biggest gripe is the fake meat stuff. Like, why do you want fake chicken or fake beef sausages or anything? Like, just have vegan stuff. It's not fake the meat alternative, right?
Like vegetables.
Exactly. So it's an interesting one. So I've mentioned this like briefly when I've gone to barbecues. I think it's more of like a social fitting in thing. So like when everyone's having a hot dog or everyone's having a burger, you don't really want to be sat there eating a plate full of like mushrooms and salads and stuff like that. So it's more like you just want to feel like you're kind of there. So that's the times where I would say I probably eat a lot of it. Is that purely when everyone else is having something similar and I want to kind of feel like, oh, we're all eating the same sort of thing together. I do agree with you though. People do, people, especially like one of your clients as well, like they have a certain reliance on like textured soy protein and like fake chicken and stuff, which you need to dial back in, I think. Anyway, I'm going to shift it away from this because I'm going to get labelled as being preachy. Johnny, quickly save me. What drew you into the sort of food and fitness industry? What sort of sparked that? Has it been a long time in the industry for you?
I'll have to split them. So food was my dad's fault. When I was 14 years old, he walked me up to the counter at the local yacht club and basically got me a job. Next day I was in the pot wash, and that was my first-hand kitchen experience. And through split shifts, going to and from university, I literally thought, I'm never doing this as a full-time job. There's no way. And here I am. So that's in a nutshell. And I'm now 32, so I've kind of been doing it for a fair old time, in and around kitchens. Training wise, I studied architecture at uni, like completely rogue.
Cool.
Came out, it was a recession, didn't really want to be designing conservatories and extensions for people, so did a PT course and then found myself into that. And like everybody else, ended up going online at some stage over the last couple of years, and then fell into the coaching chef.
Oh, so you started your personal training, and then was it clients what they wanted with nutrition and things, and then you thought, I'll go down further that route?
Actually, no, it's even more random than that, to be fair. I missed out a part of the story. I stopped personal training because I got glandular fever. Wow. And then kind of never really went back to it. And then I started working as a store manager at Hollister.
Nice.
And then I started doing the meal prep thing on the side because I didn't really like retail and how it wasn't that every week it was a different shift, so there was no way you could plan anything.
Was it because you had to get your kit off?
All my days off. Honestly, I used to walk out of Hollister in Westfield. I'd walk across the road to, I think it was Morrison's, and then I'd take all the ingredients to my car in that little. I used to steal so many shopping baskets and those little trolleys that you can push. You know the little hole.
They're the best ones.
I was walking around Westfield with one of them. I used to then get home, cook a load of food, and then literally drive it around London and the south. So that's kind of how I then got into the meal prep, because I thought it'd be more lucrative than working for somebody else.
It's crazy because we started our business in London. We used to work in Fleet Street, and I remember when the meal prep companies were starting to. It was kind of along the time when WBFF was getting big. I don't know if you've heard of that, physique competition that was about, and. I remember them, they were just getting really big. People would bring like food bags, drop them off at a local office, and then everyone would collect them at the local gym studio. And then we moved to Guildford, and we were building our business here, and it was like, it wasn't really there anymore because the corporate kind of world wasn't there. So like, I'm not even aware of that in this area. I don't even know if they do those kind of things in this area anymore or ever did.
Well, yeah, so that was my biggest challenge, is London was where the most money was, obviously, because of exactly what you just said. So my challenge was trying to build up other areas, and it was very specific people that required certain things and had the money to and the lack of time to be able to warrant that kind of service. I think when you start stepping out of London, suddenly people magically have a bit more time.
Yeah, they so do. That's so true.
An hour long one way and then an hour long the other way. So my biggest challenge was making sure that the meals tasted decent and that they had that level of presentation at arrival. So I would always try and deliver it myself where I could.
Yeah. How do you deal with people going out to eat and stuff? You talk like, people going for trips into London, whatever special occasions. How do you sort of keep people or help them stay a bit more on track if you know that they love to eat out?
It's a really hard one.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a struggle. Yeah.
Ultimately, like I would always say to people, look, if your goal is X, let's try and get to the goal as quickly as you can. And you might have to just cut back on eating out because I'm going to use the royal we chefs. We don't give a shit about your goals. We just want you to leave a good review. Like that's it. Like if you're in a restaurant and you're a chef, they don't care that you're supposed to be only eating this many calories, and then they'll put oil on side salads, cream and butter in scrambled eggs, just so that you come back the next week because you've had this amazing experience. I discussed it with my coaches' clients groups about calories on the menu and how I think that's a bit of it's a decent guide, but no chef in their right mind in a busy service is weighing your food on the plate.
No.
Exactly. It's not the calories they say it is.
No. Yeah. And I think ultimately if you're going out, well, I guess it depends how often you are going out to restaurants. I think if you're going out quite regularly to restaurants, then it's probably a good idea to maybe use that as a bit of a guide. But let's say somebody goes out to a restaurant once a month and it's like a big thing to go out to a restaurant, and then they start being guided by these calories that are then on the menu, and they'll probably be totally wrong anyway, and then they've influenced your choice of what you're going to eat that evening, and maybe you pick something that you don't actually really want to eat, but it's because the calories are staring there, and that's like your one time at the restaurant. So I think there's positives and negatives to it.
What's your take on
it
it,
definitely
Jonny?
has its place.
Yeah, no, I was going to ask, what's your take on it being there in general? Whether it be like from a mental perspective for a lot of people struggling with like orthorexia, anorexia and stuff.
From that camp, I don't think it's a good idea at all, because like you said, then choices are even more restrictive for people. So like that, the confit of duck that I mentioned a moment ago, I had it in a restaurant probably a month ago.
What restaurants do you go to, bro?
1,300 calories.
Yeah.
What restaurants do you go to to get that? Where are you going?
It's in Chichester.
I mean, if it's bulking season, 1,300 calories sounds about on the money.
Where are you going? Not McDonald's. like with our clients, we used to, especially when we was in London, we used to kind of give them lists of like we used to call it like real world fat loss, and would be like, look, if you're going to Pret and that's where your corporate lunches are, like these are kind of good, these are bad, these are like in between, make good choices. And it used to work because a lot of it was out of their control as well, because Pret would just bring a big like shelf of food, so we kind of like said, look, just keep to these things. But it's hard with like the stuff on the calories with on the menus and stuff, because it's like absolutely not correct. But then I look at like my dad, for example, and we went out to Coat in Chichester about, I don't know, maybe 2 months ago, and he always gets burgers, right? And the burger on there was like nearly 1,700 calories, and he picked the roast chicken, salad and potatoes, and it was half the calories. So in that instance, even though it's not accurate, he kind of made a better choice. But then at the same time, I'm like, he really wanted the fucking burger. So like, I think it all depends on the perspective you're looking at it. Because if you've got the goal and you want to get healthier in so much as like your body weight, I guess having the better choice is better. The awareness is there.
My take is that I think restaurants should have the calories on menus as an option, so that if you are being conscious and you want to know what's in everything, then you should have the ability to have it, but also the ability to not have it. Yeah, I mean, I know it's an attempt by the government, but I think you should still have the option to have it, basically.
Yeah, good idea.
I still think it goes back to, we spoke about this in another episode. We need to be doing more at school about educating people on what all of this stuff is, and then it doesn't actually matter anymore. This is like a papering over the cracks for the crap that's happened previously. So I think it needs to go back to that. But hey, I mean, Boris just stood up in government and went "Hasta la vista, baby" and left. It's like, come on, what chance have we fucking got with these guys?
Jonny, do you do anything with like the younger generation, or is it all?
You took the words out of my mouth.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's a great. Yeah, absolutely.
Not currently, but I have just been talking to somebody locally where I might be doing a lecture at Chichester Uni.
Mm-hmm. Oh, cool.
Nice.
So that I might be able to get in again, slightly younger generation for that, but not ventured into like even younger, like grassroots level stuff yet. Yeah. But I agree with Andy, it's 100%, that's where it needs to be, right?
Yeah.
Like instead of in home economics at school doing salads that look like faces, we should be learning about calories.
I remember doing food tech at school, and we all used to have to walk up the stairs, and our food tech teacher was so unfit that she had to take the lift, so straight away all the kids were taking the piss. And then the thing that we were doing was like making the most unhealthy like cake. I can't even remember, it was like cake and pasta bakes, but it was just like crap basically. It was full of everything. Yeah. And there was no like awareness of what was going into it. It's like, whether that's healthy or not, still give me an education on what I'm putting into that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because we're kids, we want to have fun and eat good food, right? And fun food. But there's just no awareness. It's just like, put that in the oven for like 10 minutes and then pull it out and then let it rest and then you can eat it. Do you know what I mean? Don't even wash your hands.
Yeah.
Just go.
Jonny, so you talking about you doing a lecture at a uni. I mean, you have the cliche, uni students are broke. Unless it's Cambridge, maybe. And I think there's a perception that eating healthily is expensive. You know, well, I mean, just eating period is expensive now.
Eating.
But healthier options, you know, if you want the organic stuff, if you want I don't know, whatever it may be, the better quality cuts of meat. If you're a meat eater, it gets more and more expensive. So how do you work around creating meals on a lower budget for people?
Fish and a rice
Well,
cake.
I guess I'm unique in its sense that I had the meal prep business, and all the meals I produce for coaches' clients are meal prepped from that perspective. So they're all like cost saving from a profit perspective, right? So they're generally pretty decent. As much as they're packed with vegetables, I made sure that they were like more simple versions of them, and maybe just using one vegetable instead of 4, but just doubling the portion. I also like to say to people that let's not be too romantic with the idea of prepping everything from scratch, like chopped peppers from Aldi or wherever you get them from. I think it's Aldi, is where I've got the last lot from. It saves you the time of doing it. You don't get seeds everywhere. They defrost in seconds, and you can just add that to your carb-based couscous, quinoa, rice, whatever it is, and you haven't got to spend the time doing it. So actually, that's relatively cheap in that option. So maybe you kind of have to supermarket surf a little bit. There are certain places, even wholesalers.
Pot noodle.
So again, when I had the meal prep business, we went to Booker, which is macro for people nearer London, all that kind of stuff. It seems cheap, but some of the stuff is double or triple the price of normal supermarkets. So you have to kind of pick and choose your battles of where you get stuff from.
There was actually a TV program not long ago. I think your mum was watching it. Costco being not that cost effective. It's like what you're talking about. But yeah, I mean, we do the same thing with like berries and stuff. We get frozen berries because they just last longer. They go a longer way, and then you can put them in.
Yeah, I agree. I think if something is there and it's prepped, then you're way more likely to just grab that than you are, I don't know, to maybe make a more unhealthy option, like on Deliveroo.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Jonny, so a segment we're doing this season is over-under. We usually do it with exercises for people and things that we think not enough people are doing. Some people should do more. This week, we just thought we'd mix it up a little bit and do foods instead, over-underrated foods. And you can give your perspective, which I imagine has a little bit more authority than R3's. And you can judge me based on my selections.
Okay.
I picked 3 overrated foods: kale, chicken breast, and peanut butter. Thoughts?
So overrated.
Overrated from my opinion. I'll explain my rationale first. Kale, I just think had a big boom in the noughties with everyone becoming obsessed with it going in everything. Chicken breast, I think I remember when I used to eat meat, it was a super lean cut, which is, you know, nice, but there was no flavour in it. And I remember I had a client of mine who would come in and he would be complaining about how much money he was spending on trying to hit his protein targets because he was eating like 6-7 chicken breasts a day. And I was like, my guy, there's other ways we can do this. And I think generally speaking, just peanut butter in general, I don't know why, it's like salted caramel and pulled pork. Again, it's one of those foods that just kind of got a big hit of it's got to go in everything, and if you put peanut butter on it, people will buy it.
It's when people say, I just had a high protein meal, peanut butter.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. You're like, the fat content is high. I think it's the perception that it's high protein, and the fat content or more of the energy comes from fat than it does from protein. Which that's my rationale for those 3. But Jonny, do you want to give us your take on that?
On those 3?
On those 3 being overrated.
Okay. So I agree with you on kale. And the other thing with kale is it's a bitch to prep. Like the stalks in it, honestly, it takes forever to get the stalk bit out, which is the bitter part. So I completely agree with you on that. Chicken, yeah, you're right about the other alternatives. I mean, turkey, to name one, quite close, maybe a bit bigger in size, but yeah. But I do think that has its place. Like a lot of people, if you try anything new, right, in terms of meat, everybody says it tastes like chicken, right? So at least there's we have the middle ground of taste of where people can gauge everything else on. and peanut butter. I don't even like peanut butter, so I completely agree with you on that as well.
Damn. I remember I used to get home from school when I was a kid, and my older brother would be sat on the sofa with a jar of peanut butter, and he'd he'd double down. He'd have a peanut butter Kit Kat chunky and be dipping and scooping and going for it.
I think the current peanut butter alternative is Lotus. Biscoff.
Right, yeah.
That's on everything.
I quite like Biscoff is nice. It's horrible. It's not good for you.
But it's just if you're talking about from a calorie perspective, yeah.
I'm not a fan of Biscoff.
No,
it's too
calorie
dangerous.
or taste.
Yeah, 100%. I'll bang a jar in a sitting. I reckon.
No,
easy. Light work. It's also vegan, so gang.
Oh, here we go.
No, it's that and Oreos are the two accidentally vegan things, and then you're just like, yes, someone just forgot to put milk powder in it. The two foods I picked for underrated, are kiwis and lentils, because I think it was kiwis being higher in potassium than bananas. Just being one of the most nutrient dense foods going, but I find that no one really eats them a whole lot.
With the skin on as well, you have to.
Oh yeah, you can. I still think you're wrong, and if you eat kiwis with the skin on, but
have to eat them with the skin on.
No, you've got to eat it with the skin on. More fibre, more vitamin C.
I know,
and you don't need spoon.
Exactly.
Oh, that's true. What about the little bit at the top of a kiwi though?
Eat it all,
just throw it out the window.
Oh, okay.
I eat a lot, mate.
I'm sorry, I don't just throw everything out the window. If I'm driving along, that goes in a bush. I'm not just launching stuff out the window willy-nilly. I'm just kiwi bit. My name's gone.
I'd hate to walk past your house.
I'm just imagining Johnny's a bit like Donkey Kong in Mario Kart. Just the banana peels are going out everywhere. It's the whole shebang.
Yeah.
The other underrated one I had were lentils, because I think people can't cook them properly, and that's why people have a negative perception of them. Decent.
Yeah, that's true. They do take a while to cook, but then everyone that taught me how to cook is probably going to have a complete fit. But just buy the tinned lentils. All you need to mix them with rice, and you don't even need to cook them and waste. With bills and electricity prices all going up, just buy the tin.
Save you money.
Yeah.
Big dish in Cyprus is rice, lentils, and Greek yogurt, and you just put it together. That's your dish. And it's so high in protein. Yeah. It's like poor man's food, isn't it?
Bang,
yeah,
there you go.
Mixing with some peas, that's high in protein as well.
And a bit of peanut butter.
Well done.
Boom.
bit of Lotus Biscoff spread in there too.
Maybe a flake.
But we're getting rogue now. Some crazy dessert.
Let's crack back on with some more factual stuff rather than our opinions about what foods are good and bad. Jonny, I suppose much like the fitness industry, the food industry must be in a similar boat of new studies, new information, always evolving. Has anything surprised you recently that's come out? I don't know how much reading you do outside. I imagine a fair bit to keep hot on what's good for you, basically.
I guess it is a minefield like everything else. Everything has contrarian opinions as well.
Yes.
And it's just kind of, I guess it's a question of picking your battles, right? So something I bumped into recently, study-wise, was all the thing about plastics, right? And how even tin food has various levels of plastic in it, and it's not good for male testosterone levels, all that kind of stuff. Me being male, you kind of your ears prick up and you start to think, what else can I be doing to do this? But actually, I'll bring back to what I said a moment ago about just your goals. You kind of have to just pick and choose where you lie on the research that you read and the things that come out, and not necessarily take everything too seriously, even though some people are trying to be good to you. The latest one I did as well was somebody asked me about if oil is better for you cooked or uncooked, right? And it's just that when you take it too high, it can become inflammatory.
Yeah.
But it's this would then stop people eating oil altogether, right? Because you sort of hear oil and inflammatory, bad, right? I'm not eating and touching oil ever again.
Yeah.
And then you start to get into this downward spiral of, I don't know, like over restriction, and then nobody's ever going to get a result because they'll always have these blowouts at certain points in time. So it's kind of just like this juggling act of managing all these things, and then even passing that information on to other people. Like even now on this, somebody might go, well, I'm never touching oil again.
Chinese
It's game over for me. So
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest challenge, to be fair, is trying to put it across in a certain way. As much as it might be your opinion, you need to just be aware of like how people are then going to receive that, I guess.
Yeah, I do think as well we're far more exposed to comments now like that, or like on podcasts or on Instagram, or that somebody said on their stories or whatever.
Well, don't be criticising podcasts now, Nat. Come on.
No,
now.
I'm not criticising our podcast. But the information is out there, and even if you don't want to hear it, you'll hear it. Whereas before we would have to physically like search through things and Google things, whereas now it's just been plastered onto us. So yeah, I just think that it's people, even if we don't want to hear it, it's there.
Yeah, it's the line.
It's
of
hard to sift through.
It's the line of how much authority to stamp on something, because I think there are certain points as a professional, whether it's you're in food or fitness, and you have to tell a client something, you've got to put it across in a way that they don't believe the opposite, or they have to buy in enough to take you seriously, but not so much that they actually become afraid of something.
Yeah,
and it's a fine line.
But also, I think there's too many professionals that are coming from research, but they haven't been taught how to read research. And it's like, well, then what place have you had to talk about research? You've never been taught to read it. And that's a big problem, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to like what is it? It's an implementation over information problem, right? I see this with coaches all the time, where they're pumping in recipe books to their groups and their clients and that kind of stuff. And sometimes, like, they don't need any more recipes, because if you give them a recipe book, how many recipes do you really try every single week? One,
Yeah.
maybe,
Exactly.
maybe two. So if you have 40 recipes in a book, that's going to last you what?
20 years.
40 weeks at least, if not 20 weeks.
Quick maths.
Quick math.
Yeah. That's why I picked those numbers, Max. Try any others. Might need a calculator. But no, it's a serious. I had a conversation with a coach who said he didn't want to go ahead with me because he said he had 200 recipes in his group and he was going to get them to use them first. Yeah, but they aren't already. So like, let's just give them one and give them another recipe to cook in their arsenal, because what is it? People have 10 things they cook, or 10 things that they do each week, and they just repeat it.
Yeah,
and it's just how to add another one to that list.
Yeah. I think I might start one. Cook on coal, save gas. Barbecue king. Sell it.
Andy is the barbecue king. Like,
You barbecue on gas, get out of my face.
So,
See, I had a conversation with somebody the other day. I was asking for barbecue recommendations, so I might hit you up after this, Andy. And,
there we go.
But it was somebody saying that as soon as you burn food on a barbecue, it's carcinogenic.
Good.
Right?
I don't eat it to be healthy.
No. You nearly coaxed out of me, then no. And it's just like it's just like really do we really need to go down that level of?
It's mad, isn't it?
Of intent. I don't know.
I'll have a beer though.
That's also coming back to foods going through a process to be then frozen or tinned as well. And when you're looking at vegetables or beans and legumes, I would say buy it if it's frozen, buy it if it's in a can, because you're way more likely to use it. I know I've got a jar of lentils, like raw lentils, that haven't been cooked.
Yeah.
And I haven't used them. I'll never use them. They're just there to look good.
And also,
but I'll never cook them.
Also, the process is good for it. And so, like, this whole word of being processed is sometimes over popularised, because the process is good. That's why they've done it.
Some foods need to be processed. Like, you can't eat a raw potato, and that is a process.
most food that's been frozen in like vegetable form is probably fresher than
without
it's being set on the vegetable aisle in the supermarket.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Being touched by everybody, fondled.
I love a little wrinkly aubergine.
Think about that next time you bite into an apple and you haven't washed it. How many people have touched that first?
I'm curious to see Jonny now in a fruit and vegetable aisle, just fondling various things. I mean,
His next reel.
I don't just go in and fondle willy-nilly. It's not like that's how I pass my time.
Oh yeah. A likely story. We've got to check the freshness of things. I mean, avocados are a bloody nightmare, though. I mean, everyone and their mums is like giving them a quick squidge on the top.
Yeah. I don't mind that though, because that's got that's the skin. But whereas an apple,
You're eating that.
you've really made me think now.
It's alright, you're supposed to wash it.
Sorry.
No.
Right, that's what the old. Do you know what I mean?
Chest rub.
That's what that's for.
Why do people rub apples on their chest?
Oh my
Like,
god, I was doing that the
No, I
other
do
day.
it. I do it. It's one of those things I do unconsciously, though.
Yeah, the
I
thing
don't
is,
think about it.
if you watch cricket, you'll end up starting doing it like this on the inside of your leg.
Before hurling it 12 feet away from you.
Oh my days. Have you got any signature recipes you'd say, Jonny, that are like just winners that always go down well, or something that features in a lot of your clients' meal plans, just because I don't know, they're convenient and people just love how it tastes?
Chips.
Deep fried, yeah.
Always. Dipped in biscoff spread.
I love recommending my Med chicken base, which I had it from the meal prep business. Chop down peppers or just buy them from the frozen section. Courgettes, red onions, tomatoes. Roast them off, pull them out, throw some couscous over it, cover it for 20 minutes, and boom, done. The couscous gets steamed by the veg juice. So once you've done that, you've got your base for the week. And you can interchange the veg as and when you want as weeks go by. You can add aubergines in, peas, all that kind of stuff. And it's just a really nice, quick, easy base. You can eat it hot and cold.
Lovely. Send it to
That
Matt.
sounds good.
It does sound good, but I remember, I think it was I was watching Peep Show once, and he described couscous as tiny grains of misery. And I've never been able to unhear that exact phrase.
I really like the big couscous.
Giant couscous.
I love the giant couscous. I just prefer
Yeah,
it.
that's great. Yeah.
So nice.
Lovely.
That's the good stuff. I mean, you're talking about having like loads of veggies in a pan there. Do you commonly find that fussy eaters make your life quite tricky? Being like, oh, I don't like that. I don't like the texture of this. Or do people, when they're coming to you and they're taking their health and fitness seriously, are they all in? They'll just like, I'll eat whatever you tell me to.
I guess, but taste obviously has a part to play, right? As we said at the very beginning, there are so many different spectrums on it, and then might have scarred them from childhood. I didn't touch on the peanut butter story that scarred me, that my nan in the middle of the store asked me if I'd tried it. She popped the lid off, stuck her finger in it, and then stuck it in my mouth. And that might be why I don't like it.
Understandably.
I just didn't know that was the situation, right? So you just don't know why people don't like veg and things like that. Yeah, I would, in an ideal world, just shut up and eat it. Like, just mix it into other things and put a sauce over it, and it's fine. Because ultimately, like, if you just keep eating beige food, there's loads of fitness accounts that just post beige food, and I think it gives the wrong message to people that they then don't need to eat vegetables or anything on the colour spectrum.
Yeah, I think that's become way more popular in the last 5 years. There's always higher protein versions of something that you wanted, so people opt for that, and then all of a sudden their entire day is just from packets or high protein versions of something, and then sweeteners and low calorie this and low calorie that, and they haven't actually eaten much fruit and vegetables.
I do find that funny. People's branding has such a massive impact on people's perception of food. You put the word protein on almost anything. You get a Mars protein bar now. And it just seems obscene to me that people buy into it that much and consider that health.
Yeah, it's like the word vegan.
Oh, I mean, we're talking about colourful food, my guy. Have you seen your barbecue? It's all beige. He banged half a lamb on it. And
I like
there you
beige. Beige is nice.
It's still got the wool on it.
It's already
You're
got meat on it now.
The barbecue will singe the wool off.
Lovely.
It's extra texture.
And I cook with my fingers.
And then fondle some apples. That's everything
Yeah?
I had to ask.
Oh,
I'm happy.
lovely. I think, I think I've asked everything that I wanted to.
Happy days. So I've got a question to ask.
Go on.
So in terms of the thing that I'm most confused about your service is the digital chef bit. I get the like meal prepping and giving them recipes, but what is that? Tell everyone what that is.
Well, apart from giving the coach freedom and time back, like I say, to focus on other areas of the business, I become a member of their staff effectively.
Right.
So I go into their communities, whether that be on Facebook, membership sites, Telegram, Instagram, WhatsApp, whatever it might be. And I'm the one that deals with those questions, sort of like on support through the day. They can ask me questions, how to cook this, blah, blah, blah. And I will then give them feedback so the coach doesn't have to. So the coach doesn't have to keep answering the same questions. And then if it's a common question, I make it into content and then post it back into the group so it's there forever.
Cool.
That's cool. That's wicked.
Yeah, that is cool.
I was thinking that you were standing on Zoom, like cooking it, and they were copying you, like.
I'd like to, but I'm doing one actually next week, like a live cook-along.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you how it goes. I don't think it's going to go as well as I think because everybody will be at different stages of competency in the kitchen. I hope it won't be, but my vision is that it might be a bit of a free-for-all and a bit of a mess.
I did a live cook-along in lockdown, and I hosted the live cook-along. And I was doing a banana bread, shock, and I put the banana bread in the oven, and then I looked at all the comments because then they start coming through, and they were like, "What do we do with the eggs?"
Now I forgot the eggs.
And I forgot the eggs in the live cook-along, so I had to pull it out the oven and mix it in.
My days.
And I was like, everyone, get your banana breads back out the oven.
Trust me, this is part of it.
I know. So I didn't do a live cook along again. I was like, why am I trying to do this, Nat? You don't do this stuff.
You're a trainer. Be a trainer.
The gyms were closed. Yeah. So that was my experience. So I'm sure yours will go way better than mine.
Well, I might burn something maybe, but it's all part of it, right? We're not all perfect all the time.
You can style it out, so it's I think every occupation has that exactly. It's like it burns a little bit on the outside. You're like, lovely crust.
If you haven't charred it, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah,
exactly,
caramelised.
More char, more flavour. That's the one.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Jonny. Really, really appreciate it.
Likewise, honestly, thanks for having me on.
Where
Enjoyed the chat.
can people find you? Shout it out on your Instas.
How do people find me?
Yeah.
Yes.
The Coachy Chef on Instagram, or LinkedIn, or Jonny Becker on Facebook. Any way it's possible. Yeah.
Lovely.
Boom.
Or in the description below if you have one of those.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do it. Do
Yes.
that bit and do that.
Well,
Right there.
Or there, wherever it might be.
Somewhere you'll find him. Go check the man out. And thanks so much, Jonny. We appreciate it, and we will catch you guys next week.
Yes.